Evening, guys. Mike with Powers Carvings and Crafts coming at you with sharpening tips number 4. So today's sharpening tips is on sharpening methods. Now there are multiple methods to sharpening a knife. Everyone has their own. Sharpening a knife is pretty personal whenever it comes to, who does what. Today I'm going to show you my sharpening method, but I'm going to talk about a few others really quick before I go into demonstration. So one of the big ones for newer guys is guided sharpening systems. Stuff like Spyderco Sharpmakers or KMEs or Edge Pros. Now Edge Pros, KMEs, they're more of a hassle to set up. You have to get the clamp right, you have to clamp the knife in the vise, you have to Sharpie the edge, which I advocate no matter what. Make sure the angle's right, adjust the angle. It's just a lot of hassle to set up, especially if your knife just needs a touch up or something. Or it needs to go to your fine stone and you have to set up this jig just to do it. Especially if you're at work, you don't have that jig with you, you don't know how to freehand sharpen, then your knife's just dull for the rest of the day. The method that I use is freehand sharpening. Now, there's a couple different ways to freehand sharpen. First one is you can set the stone on the bench and run your knife along the stone. The second method, which is my preferred method, is holding the stone and the knife and sharpening in front of me like this. I like having the work close to my face, and having the knife or having the stone on the bench is kind of having it far away from my face. Another method is you can move the stone on the knife. It's kind of a big stone to do that with, and I don't really like to do that anyway. So whether it's a stone or a ceramic rod or a diamond rod, it doesn't matter. Ceramic rods and diamond rods you can't really set down, you kind of have to hold. So you're stuck with the method of knife in motion or stone or rod in motion. Same thing with a strop. Strops, I make paddle strops. You can hold in your hand, set on a bench, hold the knife and move the strop. That's just up to you. As far as the Spyderco Sharpmaker, I actually have one on the bench over here. I'll show it to you. So Sharpmakers are pretty nice. They are portable. I mean, they're kind of a big package, but you can still fit them in a pack. The only thing is with Spyderco Sharpmakers, you're kind of locked into two different types of angles. 20 degrees per side or 15 degrees per side. That's okay if you don't really care about your edge angle, or if your edge angle is more obtuse, meaning a higher edge angle than a 20 degree, you kind of have to tilt your knife out a little bit more. Oh, my cat's coming to visit me. Hi, Rambo. Say meow. Yeah, he said hi. So, he's saying hi again. There he goes. So, but this one, if you have a more obtuse angle than the Sharpmaker, you have to hold your knife a little bit more like this than straight up and down, So, this one kind of locks you into a certain angle, and also these stones really aren't that coarse. So if your knife is beat up, then these aren't going to really do anything for you. So as far as methods and techniques go, I subscribe to the 5 sharpening stages method: coarse, medium, fine, honing, and stropping. So coarse, I use a coarse DMT stone for. Medium, I don't really have a medium stone. I just lighten the pressure on my coarse stone. My fine is my fine DMT stone. My honing is very light pressure and alternating passes on my fine DMT stone, and then stropping, obviously, leather strop with honing compound on it. I use green chromium oxide or bare leather or white, I think it's aluminum oxide, I'm not sure. I don't go crazy on the strop because I like an aggressive edge. So, as far as the different motions of it, my technique normally goes like this. Let me move the camera down a little bit. If you guys have watched a couple of my other videos before, then you know my method. So whenever it comes to coarse, this is my fine DMT. All this is the DMT. I put a piece of masking tape on the back of it, put a piece of masking tape on a block of wood, and then I sprayed the masking tape with spray adhesive, and I stuck them together. That way I can still remove the stone from the block if I want to. So I hold the stone in my hand, I take my knife, Most of the time I sharpen my edge, but most of my knives I'm pretty good at sharpening without sharpening the edge. So I'll get my angle and I'll run the stone, or I'll run the knife along the stone, lifting as I get to the tip to follow that angle. Like I said in the first video, if you Sharpie the edge, it'll show you where you're hitting and where you're missing. And then as far as the honing process goes, that's step 4. I will take my knife and I will do light alternating passes on my fine stone. And normally I'll do anywhere in the 6 to 8 to 12 passes per side range. And that is, I just like, I don't know, values of, I like even numbers. So I haven't been counting. And you always want to make sure you do even number of passes per side. So that is my honing process. And as far as stropping goes, actually before we do stropping, I'll show you. So on my course, so this is still my fine stone, but on my course, I'll show you what I do for my course method. So I'll get my angle, I'll come up, and I'll go back. And I'll be using moderate pressure with this one. So just pretend this is my course stone. And then after probably 6 to 8 passes, so that's 1 pass, that's 2 passes. After about 6 to 8 passes, I'll feel for a burr. What's a burr? A burr is whenever you sharpen one side of the knife until it curls some metal over. So once you feel that burr, you'll flip to the other side, sharpen that side till you feel the edge curl over there. What that means is that both edges have been brought to an exact point. So this is my fine stone, like I said, but we're just going to pretend this is my coarse stone. So after I felt the burr on that side, there's just a little one. Again, moderate pressure on this side. Again, you want to sharpen your angle and check it after every about 2 to 4 swipes. Yep. So now, pretending this is my coarse stone again, for my medium grit, I will lighten my pressure and I will do alternating passes. Again, we're pretending this is my DMT coarse stone. So now I'm using much lighter pressure than I was during my coarse phase on my medium phase. Okay. Feel my edge. And while we're on the subject, edge sharpness. How do we check edge sharpness? What I normally do is I use 2 methods. One, I'll look in the light and see if I can see any reflections off the edge. If I can see reflections off the edge, that's a flat spot in the edge, and that means it's dull there. The 2 edges haven't met at a sharp point, so it's reflecting light like that. You need to bring it together more to where it's a nice point, and then it won't reflect light. Number 2, what I'll do is I'll take my thumbnail or my fingernail, whatever, and I'll take the knife 90 degrees to it and I'll scrape it. And if it's scraping material off my thumbnail, that's nice and sharp. I need to get the tip a little bit more because I didn't dig into it as much as down here. And to make sure that's not just a burr flipped over, what I'll do is I'll take the knife. So we did this side, and now we got to do this side. So that's not just a burr, that's a nice apex there. That's scraping fingernail. So now I can tell, because I'm scraping more fingernail off the tip of the knife on this side than I was on this side, that I have a burr on that side, and I can kind of feel that. So we'll take a couple more passes. Real light pressure. Okay, so like I said, we were pretending that was my DMT course. So my course stage is back and forth. My medium stage is alternating, light pressure. My fine stage would be my DMT fine, back and forth, and then my honing stage would be very light pressure on my DMT fine, alternating strokes. And then after that, we have the strop. Now the strop is different than a stone. You will not cut into a strop. You will always take the edge and trail it away. Another good tip is right after the stone, before stropping, run your knife through a piece of wood. That'll break off any remaining wire edge and any metal debris from getting contaminated in your strop. Or sharpening stone debris, I should say. So we take our knife. You can color the edge on this one too. Get that bevel and pull. Switch the other side and pull. Pull and pull. Like I said, I don't like a very smooth edge unless it's on a carving tool, like a plane or a knife, or one of my like whittling knives or something, like one of my Moras. I like a more aggressive edge. So most of the time after I hit it with a hone, I will only do about 3 to 6 swipes on each side on the strop. And that's it, guys. You know, using that method with the Sharpie, pretty easy. All right, let me get you off the crotch shot and bring you back up here to finish talking to you. So like I said, pretty easy. Using the Sharpie method with that's going to take you a little bit longer than this video. But using the Sharpie method with that, it's really going to make sure that you follow that angle and you don't lift up or down too much. I'll be coming at you with a little bit more sharpening tips coming up, talking about honing your knife instead of having to regrind it so much, how often to sharpen, and you know, what tools you can use to hone your knife other than that. But that's just my method of sharpening. There's so many methods out there, and you need to find one that works for you. You know, what works for me may not work for you. But yeah, that's a sharp knife that's ready for work tomorrow. So like I said, find one that's comfortable for you and works within your price range. Find an abrasive that's going to work for the steels on your knife, and well, you know, that'll work for a range of your knives. And get yourself a strop, because it's just really nice at finishing that edge, works out any imperfections from the stone. But yeah, guys, that's just my method, and we'll catch you on the next sharpening tips.